Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here, your source for gaming, tech, emulation, and open source news. Let's get started. Alright, to kick things off, we're talking about one of my favorite multi-system emulators, and that's Ares. And Ares just got a brand new update. So at the time of filming, Ares version 146 or 146 or 146 or subscribe to Mr. Sujano, however you wanted to say that version number, has just dropped. And this is a pretty exciting release. They say here version 146 is an exciting release for Ares, as it becomes the first emulator supporting the Laserdisc-based Mega LD. Now, if you've never heard of the Mega LD before, I really don't blame you. And if you've never heard of the Laser Active before, I also don't blame you. Anyways, here, if you wanted to learn more about those systems or see some games in action, Video Game Esoterica has you covered with a video on the subject. They go on to say here, the work done to bring Mega LD support into Ares was a result of years-long research and preservation effort, all thanks to Nemesis. And all currently dumped Mega LD titles are playable in Ares version 146. With no known compatibility issues. Now on top of that, because that's not all, there's a whole bunch of fixes, optimizations, and improvements across the board for pretty much every single system that Ares emulates, including the SNES, where they've added support for limited run games Rumble specification. And if you are on Windows, there is something worth pointing out. They say the signing certificate used to sign Ares on Windows has expired. Ares will be unsigned until a compatible signing solution is found. Windows users should be sure to only download Ares from official sources, including the Ares website and GitHub. If you are interested in Ares and wanted to learn more about it, like everything we talk about, links are in the description below right at the bottom. I don't hide my sources. And speaking about sources, next up here we're talking about the MIG switch, or the MIG flash as it was changed to. For those who may be unaware, the MIG flash is a highly controversial, arguably highly controversial Nintendo Switch flash card. And it appears the MIG flash has been dumped. I'm not going to lie here, I am very curious to see what's going to happen moving forward with this one. I'm assuming now that it's dumped, there's going to be more MIG flash devices or similar devices that pop up. And I'm assuming now too that since this is on the internet and up on GitHub, it's going to be really hard to completely eliminate and scrub off the internet. I am curious to hear what you think about this one. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below what might happen with this stuff moving forward. And speaking about the Nintendo Switch, next up we're going up one generation and talking about the Switch 2 and Switch 2 dev kits. And it's being reported in a few different places here that Nintendo is being extremely guarded and extremely limited on who they give dev kits to. Now, I've seen reports of this in a few different places. VGC kind of sums things up and includes a Digital Foundry video where a lot of people are sourcing this information from. And I guess here is one of the quotes. There's been a lot of talk about this lately, that Nintendo seems to be almost discouraging Switch 2 development to some degree. I've spoken with plenty of developers where they were told that their game, they should just ship it on Switch 1 and rely on backwards compatibility. There's a lot of developers that are unable to get Switch 2 dev kits. We talked to a lot of devs at Gamescom this year, and so many of them said the same things. They want to ship on the Switch 2. They would love to do Switch 2 versions. They can't get the hardware. It's really difficult right now. And furthermore, and very interestingly, it appears it's not just indie developers and smaller developers that are having trouble getting Switch 2 dev kits. In fact, some smaller developers did get Switch 2 dev kits and some AAA developers did not. So if this reporting is true, I'd be very curious to know what Nintendo's rationale is behind limiting dev kits. Is it because of hardware shortages? Is it because of piracy concerns, maybe getting dev kits into the wrong hands? Or is it because of some other reason? You'd think they'd want to push out as many dev kits to as many developers as possible to have more games on their platform. And speaking about making stuff more accessible and available to people, next up we're talking about one of my favorite Linux distributions, and one that just keeps creeping up the overall scale in terms of what distribution I really like. And that's Bazzite. And Bazzite here has just published a brand new back-to-school update. And they say here, Ioneo 3, AOK Zoe A1X, I probably mispronounced that one, Framework Desktop, Performance Boot Time Improvements, Bizarre Update, and even more. So the big thing with this update is Bazzite now supports the Ioneo 3 and the AOK Zoe A1X. And I would say that's a huge win for Bazzite overall, and a huge win for people who have those devices. Additionally, it seems that Bazzite is now an officially supported operating system for the Framework desktop. But if I take a look at the Framework desktop here, Bazzite may want to talk to them because it's not currently listed under operating system. If I select operating system, I've got Windows 11 Home download, Windows 11 Pro download, and none bring your own. On top of that, they say this new update also introduces preliminary support for the MSI Claw A8 and the Lenovo Legion Go 2. And on top of that, and this one should be across most devices depending on your setup here, but there are performance improvements specifically around boot time. They say they've reduced boot time to be around 15 seconds, 7 seconds post-grub. And this translates to a reduction of 5 seconds for everyone if your network is slow to connect, 10 to 20 seconds. And if you are an NVIDIA user, well, whatever you had before minus 15 seconds. Additionally, they're claiming here a 5% improvement on Cyberpunk, and some of you might get 10 to 30% more performance, especially Intel users. And speaking about good news, next up we're shifting to bad news and talking about Retroid. And here is the headline. It's over on retrohandhelds.gg. Retroid cancels Pocket 4 Pro support for the dual screen add-on. So reportedly, Retroid has said the device will not work with the Retroid Pocket 4 Pro due to its MediaTek chipset, causing issues with the add-on's internal PCB. And due to this, the company will be sending refunds to those who ordered a Pocket 4 Pro and the dual screen add-on, without purchasing a Retroid Pocket 5 or Mini directly from Retroid. For more information about this one, I do recommend checking out that Retro Handhelds article and their Discord. There's a whole lot of information there. I don't know about you, but to me it just seems that Retroid is having issue after issue with a lot of their devices out there. And speaking about hardware and possible problems with hardware, next up we're talking about Framework. And this is not problems in a negative light. I would say this is in a positive light because right now I don't know of any problems with the new Framework Laptop 16. But if you run into an issue, these things are super modular and probably pretty easy to fix. So anyways here, Framework has just introduced the Framework Laptop 16 with NVIDIA GeForce RTX 5070. They state that the Framework Laptop 16 starts at around $1,500. Now I'm in Canada and I'm assuming these are Canadian prices. And the laptop features a Ryzen AI 7 350 or an AI 9 HX 370. Now it's worth noting here this segment is not sponsored by Framework. I'm a big fan of their laptops and just wanted to talk about them because if you are in the market for a laptop, Framework may be worth checking out, especially if you're planning on keeping that laptop for a long period of time and don't mind changing out parts if something goes wrong. And speaking about stuff going wrong, next up here we're talking about Sega and Sonic Crossworlds. This may have been unintentional, but it appears that the Steam version of Sonic Racing Crossworlds open test is not encrypted. And you probably can guess people are taking a look at the files and a lot of stuff seems to be leaking. And more than likely as a result of that possible oversight, it's being reported here, people have successfully patched the PC version of Sonic Racing Crossworlds and are playing right now offline. So there you have it. Next up, we're talking about the highly anticipated Demonschool, which is a new age tactics RPG. If you are looking forward to this game, it has been delayed until November 19th, and for one big reason, Hollow Knight Silksong. So they found out the release date of Hollow Knight Silksong, which was one day after the release date of this, and they decided they weren't going to compete and want the maximum visibility possible, and delayed this till November 19th, which I can completely understand. Now, fortunately, this delay is also going to make the game better. They say here that they're going to utilize the time wisely and work on enhancing and polishing up the game experience. There will be more endings and mini games that the developers originally planned to patch in post-release, rather than leave the content on the cutting floor. Now it'll be all part of the game's release in November. And speaking about stuff on the way, next up we're talking about Acclaim, and Acclaim had a relatively exciting announcement. I say relatively exciting because I've got no idea what to expect from them. But they say here, tune into the Play Acclaim Showcase on September 10th, where we will begin this exciting new chapter for Acclaim. They say they're going to be showcasing the titles that will mark the beginning of a bold new era. They're not just back, they're leveling up. Unfortunately, I do not have more details than this, but I'm very curious to see what comes out in the time between now and September 10th. And speaking about announcements, next up we're talking about Atari, and it's been announced that Atari has acquired all intellectual property rights to 5 Ubisoft games. And they are Cold Fear, I Am Alive, Child of Eden, Grow Home, and Grow Up. Let me know your thoughts about that in the comments below. Overall here, I'm kind of surprised that Atari can continue to afford to purchase things, but I'm also very happy that Atari purchased these. I'm assuming Atari purchased them because they want to make new versions of them or remaster them or just continue them on in some way, shape, or form, and not just have them collect dust and do nothing with them. So this may be a very good thing for people who are fans of these games. And speaking about being fans of games, next up we're talking about Dandy Ace. Now, Dandy Ace is already out on PC. In fact, it's got a very positive review score on Steam. But if you're a fan of this game and a fan of playing games on mobile devices, you might be excited to know that Dandy Ace has released for mobile. And speaking about Steam and releases and Steam reviews, next up here we're talking about Gears of War Reloaded, which has just released over on Steam. And taking a look at the review scores, this game currently has a mixed overall review. Based on taking a look at the reviews, it seems the biggest problem people are having with this is that it crashes. I mean, there are some people who are not happy about the existence of it in the first place, but it does seem that there are some optimization issues with the game. We'll have to wait and see what happens moving forward on this one, but I'm assuming there are going to be some fixes released fairly soon, or at least I would expect fixes for this game released fairly soon based on the reviews I'm seeing. And speaking about recent launches on Steam and mixed overall reviews, last up here we're talking about Space Adventure Cobra: The Awakening. I'm pretty sure we talked about this one before. It just launched on Steam and it's got a mixed overall review score with not a whole lot of reviews yet. I'll drop a link to the trailer in the description below in the event that you wanted to check it out yourself. But taking a look here, if you're into platformers, this game looks really interesting overall. Based on some of the reviews I've seen, some people say it's got a boring level design. Now, I haven't checked this one out yet myself. It does look interesting. It is on my radar, but if you've played this one, let me know your thoughts about it in the comments below. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and no fluff. We talked about a bunch today. Feel free to discuss anything we talked about in the comments below. If you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like, hit that subscribe button, check out my other videos, don't tempt fate, save your state.